3:15. Now, a rather special Derbyshire garden is reopening to the public from next month until September. Cascades Gardens in Bonsall is set in 4 acres surrounding the ruins of an old corn mill. I went up to have a look around for myself to see what visitors can expect with its owner, Alan Clements. Alan, this truly is Cascades, isn't it? We've got the water.
I suppose about 15 waterfalls throughout the garden, but this is the best outside the house, about 15 foot high, and can be like Niagara at times when it's rained. In 1750 this was called Water Corn Mill Yard, and it had a two-wheeled corn mill and was fed by a reservoir at the end of the garden, some 2 acres away, which led to a canal and a mill race and fed the mill.
How was this area different, or has this stayed the same since it was built?
Well, it's only half the size as it used to be, but our house was built in 1823, and I think the mill went into disrepair about 1840. So between 1750 and 1840, it was presumably milling the corn for the village.
Where does it run to? It runs under gardens after here, does it?
Yes, this runs down under the next door's garden. It's actually a tunnel made of pure old stone, and it connects up with the Bonsall Brook further down.
Let's walk round the corner, because although that sounds pretty impressive what we've got, as we walk towards the garden and the lower level of the garden, and you've got some, is it 4 acres in total?
It's about 4 acres, particularly if you lay it flat, because there is an 80-foot cliff and the odd hillside in the middle as well.
We've just come round the corner then, and again we've got another waterfall, and then we've also got the stream as well. Now you can coordinate how the water runs here, can't you?
At the far end, where the reservoir is now turned into a pond, there's a little weir, which I think years ago used to be a way of connecting the water all the way down the canal and blocking it off from the stream, or otherwise the overflow was down the stream, yes. We sort of balance it between the two now. Does
that mean that to create a garden in this space, it's been quite easy because of the irrigation, or does it make it harder because of the amount of water?
Now, Cascades Gardens is a wonderfully shady spot because we have a lot of mature trees, beech trees and yew trees. But also the water running through means that it's also very moist, and so we have rich soil, moisture, semi-shade. It's a great place for plants.
Let's move further into the garden then, because it's all about creating something, and the space that is here, the size that is here, the big rock hillside that we've got next to us, and then what you've done, we can hear the water just disappearing behind us. We can hear the tranquility of the garden and the beds that you've got here, and the spring flowers, the daffodils. Was it always your idea to make this almost different rooms in a garden?
Yes, when I was younger I lived in Oxfordshire, and Hidcote Manor was close by, a wonderful garden, and it inspired me to have a different room out around each corner. So as you walk through the garden, there's a different room, a different view, and even a different seat to sit on. And
you've got lots of statues in here as well. Now, is that one of those things that you go around the country and think, I could use that?
Well, Hidcote has a lot of very nice views along corridors of perennial beds with statues at the end, and I've sort of tried to do a little bit of that.
Is this garden, in the time that you've been here, been a try it, if it doesn't work, change it sort of place?
Absolutely. We're 800 feet up. It gets pretty cold and wet in the winter. Only certain plants will grow. We're lime soil, so we can't do rhododendrons, but we do have those in pots. And yes, what survives stays. So,
is it almost like, because of the height as well, a little microclimate up here? What you can grow here, or what starts here, may be later than anywhere else?
Well, because we have an 8-foot high wall, and part of the garden is 15 foot higher than the rest, it is quite sheltered. So it's a sheltered spot. It's a microcosm of its own natural environment, full of birds, full of wild animals and all sorts of things.
Where do you start when you're maintaining a place like this?
No, I have a gardener who helps me, and what we do is we walk around every other morning, and we found, well, what's the worst bit? Let's tackle that. And where's the most weeds? Which is the scruffiest. So tackle the worst part every day, and it gets better.
In all the time you've been here, and you've been closed from getting the public in here to look at the garden for a few years, now you're opening up again.
Yes.
So there have been changes over the times. Have those suggestions come from the public, or has it been you just looking out and thinking, I need to change things?
Well, I did have one lady who complained that she'd seen a weed, and I asked her politely to pick it. But no, it's a natural environment. It's a huge area to maintain, and so we did have a few years off, and we've upgraded it. We've taken away all the grass verges, all the places that need trimming, so it's become much more maintenance free, and also we put in formal paths and edging and all that. So we've used this last year when we haven't been open, a year or two, to upgrade the garden and smarten it up and make it more formal.
How good is the soil around here? Have you had to put a lot of things into it to make sure that you can grow things or not?
Well, it's a natural valley going down through Bonsall where the stream has been, and it's sort of a lovely silt. It wasn't cultivated, so it's a rich soil, and it grows plants beautifully.
It's a beautiful black colour, isn't it, when you look around?
Yes, it is, and a very fine silt. In fact, the canal we have here, every 3 years we have to take away the silt, because the Bonsall Brook dumps silt as it slows down going through the garden. Last year we took out 150 tonnes from the canal alone.
Just gone 3:25. Andy Potter on BBC Radio Derby. I've been to visit Cascades Gardens in Bonsall. It's opening its doors again for the first time in 3 years. The owner is Alan Clements. It's 4 acres. There's so much water, so many different rooms in the garden as well. But I asked Alan if the garden threw up any surprises.
Well, I'm always surprised to see a 40-foot tree that I remember planting as a 4-foot sapling, and things do grow enormously fast. But we've spent the last year or two cutting things back, trimming them, taking things out that don't fit, and putting in new stock.
Does that also mean that you're attracting different wildlife into the garden now as well?
No, we have the full range, so many different types of birds, from buzzards to wrens, all the way through. And I think it's been pretty consistent. It's a quiet, unspoilt place where livestock and birds thrive. We have a fox, we have all sorts of things.
Let's wander a bit further up, because on something as big as this, it would be incredibly expensive to buy plants and put them in, and you are your own nurseryman as well, aren't you?
Well, 50 years ago my uncle taught me how to propagate plants, so I love doing that. We have a couple of large polytunnels. I suppose there must be about 1,000 plants in the nursery here, and some are for sale in the summer. And we have to keep generating plants to restock the garden year by year.
Is it easier to do that now with new technologies that are coming through, and what has actually happened within the horticulture industry, in the fact that we get things that last longer, that have multiple crops on them as well?
Well, no, we're good old-fashioned. We take cuttings and see if it works. So you can see in front of me here one of our nursery beds. We've taken cuttings in the late summer and early autumn last year. Just about everything is taken, because in a rich soil, moisture, shady and sheltered, it does work.
What do you get out of gardening?
Oh, the best bit is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the gin and tonic, sitting watching what I've done during the day.
Do you have to pinch yourself, though? Because as we're looking back down towards the house now, this is just an ideal place of it's tranquility. We can't hear anything.
No, you can't hear anything at the moment, although the farmers' tractors can be quite noisy sometimes. But no, it's absolutely quiet and beautiful.
If you were given the opportunity to start again, if this was a blank canvas again, what would you do differently?
Well, I think that happens all the time, because you have to, with perennial beds, you have to strip out once every 5 years or something like that, take everything out and start again, because there's all sorts of weeds that will take over if you're not careful, and you can't just weed round plants and shrubs. So every bed, every 3 to 5 years, gets stripped out and started again. So it gives you a chance to reinvent it.
So let's walk even further up the garden. You've got these great stone arches down the stream. Have you created those? Are they made of local stone?
Yes, they are quite interesting, aren't they? That they are made of tufa stone. I'm told it's a local stone from Derbyshire, although it looks like coral to me. And creating an arch like that is quite fun, because you have to support it while the cement is setting. I didn't do that. Someone did that 100 years ago. But what I have done is copy it here with tufa stone that I found around the garden. So we now got the second arch further up the stream.
I dare ask you which one you think is the better one.
Well, I know, of course, it's the one I did.
But when you were doing that, and when you're putting the last piece in, are you hoping, okay, I leave that now, I go off, I have my G&T, I go to bed, I wake up, is it still going to be there in the morning?
Surprisingly strong, but what you don't know is that it had a very rigid wooden support structure to fit each piece in place until the cement dried.
And it gives a different viewpoint to the stream as well. It gives your eyes something else to focus on, to actually look at the garden again in a different way, doesn't it?
Yeah, sort of framing borders and that sort of thing with different arches is part of what we have here.
What have you got on the side over there then? What's that?
Well, this is something that's appeared. I'm told it's called peticite, and it creates these spikes of flower to begin with by the stream, and then you get this rhubarb-like leaf that comes later. Again, it's a wild thing that's just appeared. You can see them around the rivers of Derbyshire.
The water is exceptionally clear. It's because it filters through the rocks, doesn't it, on the way down?
Well, it comes through the fields, yes, and is draining the fields, the hills behind Bonsall village.
Can you test the health of the countryside around you by how the water is reacting, how clean it is, how much you've got? Are you a barometer in this garden for that?
No, it's always clean, it's always pure water. What we can tell is the water table, because, as you say, when you came here years ago, much of it had dried up, and when the water table drops, some of the waterfalls are dry for a month or two.
Can that be accentuated? Because this water just runs through it. It's not like you've got a pump at one end which you're just recycling stuff. This is all natural, isn't it?
People ask me where the pump is and can you turn it on or off? No, it's all. I think God's got quite a lot to do with it. Perhaps you might like to just see the main reservoir here. Can you see there's a lot of water up in the far corner? Let's
wander. Past your handiwork again. Over the little bridge. Did you put the bridge in over the stream as well yourself?
Yes, all the bridges, all the paths. All the path edging, all the handrails. We even built this bridge over here.
Wow.
To give us access to the bottom part of the garden.
It's all dry stone wall. So the skills that you've picked up in doing this, is every day a school day or not?
I've always been able to dry stone wall. I used to live in Oxfordshire and I had walls around that house. But the fun has been creating this pond out of what was the reservoir. We dumped 35 tons of rock to create this path into the centre of the pond, making the planting look natural. You know, all this different Iris pseudochorus and the ranunculus, the big yellow buttercup. Trying to make it look natural and yet at the same time keep it weeded is quite a challenge.
And it comes resplendent with its own ducks as well, with the duck house.
It does. Well, these are wild ducks. We used to have some domestic ducks. Sadly, the fox got those over the years. But now we're getting wild ducks fly in from Cromford Pond.
So once you see that, it takes me all the way back to the wildlife here. Once you see that happening, once you see that wildlife accepting what you've done, that is such a plus point for you because you're blending in with the natural environment.
Well, I'm very relaxed about the garden and trying to blend in the formal parts of the garden with the natural environment is very much what I'm about. In fact, we have a principle that we keep some weeds in just for the flowers, and although we make sure we pick them before they seed, because some weeds are as attractive as flowers.
So opening the garden again this year, after the break, how are you feeling about letting people see it again?
Oh, I'm excited because we've spent 2 years renewing the garden, renovating the garden, and planted a huge amount more plants and trimmed things, put new bushes in. I'm excited to see this year develop and grow.
And when people come in to look around the garden, do you loiter to listen to what they're saying, or do you wait for people to come to you?
Well, if you don't mind lots of people wandering through your garden all day, and I don't, it's a lovely social experience because people come into my potting shed just across here, look, and chat, and we talk about gardens, and it's a great, pleasant social experience.
So weekend times, what times will you be opening?
Between 10 and 5, Wednesdays, Saturdays, Sundays and bank holidays.